create, design, and then build on 3 1/10 acres of Chicago hardpan, adjacent to the city's iron-encompassed loop, a microcosm of a city, a total urban center, a total environment, a way for people, some people, to live in the marketplace. This is Marina City, one of the tallest concrete structures in the world, called by many revolutionary in both design and concept. 5 buildings, a commercial platform covering the entire site, a television studio as a focal center, an office building to form a background and fence against the yet undeveloped areas to the north, and finally, 2 towers reaching up into vertical space, living towers with forms suggesting the upward grace of growing branches and the airy open form of a sunflower petal. To achieve all this required an unbelievable amount of planning. 250 team members working for a year, calculated, then detailed with thousands of drawings, the plans and the schedules that would make the project feasible. The basic concept of 2 cylindrical towers will present 30% less wind resistance and offer the least enclosure for the greatest floor area. And this design will eliminate one of the builder's biggest problems, the useless and highly inefficient corner. Automatically, the design offers the shortest distribution network for utilities and services. Architects, engineers, contractors, technicians, manufacturers, suppliers, and consultants studied every need and planned every detail of the erection sequence. On November 22nd, 1960, they were ready to go. They started by going down 115 feet and back 1 billion years or more in geological history, down through the debris of centuries. At the surface, cinders and concrete monoliths, then old marine structures and even railroad cars, through remnants of the Chicago fire of 1870, and deeper to soft silt, clay, river water, and abandoned freight tunnels, through granitic boulders deposited on bedrock by the last glacial sheet, and finally, limestone of the Precambrian shield, the earliest era of geological history. From here, they were ready to push up over 700 feet. To gain a firm footing in Chicago required a 51B caisson drill, a truly gigantic gumbo buster, 8 stories high, weight 120 tons, the only one in the world. This rig can drill to 200 feet through natural or man-made obstructions. 148 separate times, the 3 drill rigs bit into the earth for the caisson-to-rock footings that would hold Marina City erect. In the best day's work, 4 of the mammoth 66-inch caissons were drilled 110 feet to rock and concreted in 24 hours. Marina City was rapidly coming up out of the mud. As caissons hit bedrock, the first of a seemingly endless fleet of ready-mix trucks arrived on the site to begin the tremendous job of supplying concrete to the gigantic marina project. If the towers are to stand, these supports must be of the highest quality. Sonic tests, the shooting of sound waves through the caissons, report on the quality and density of the concrete now hardened far below in the earth. To transfer the tremendous weight of the structure above to its newly completed legs of concrete, a heavy steel base plate is welded to the tops of the caisson dowel bars and the bottom of the high-strength column reinforcing. At last, the circular shapes of the twin towers begin to appear in a maze of heavy steel that will reinforce each tower pad. Now, the design details so carefully worked out in the years prior to construction become essential. For the 40 caissons which will carry a single tower must support over 10 million pounds of dead weight. The West Tower foundations must offer additional stability for a proposed cluster of TV masts. And so the architectural beauty of Marina City is born in deformed steel, plastic concrete, and the heat of the welder's torch. Now it is time for a new crew of workmen and a new set of building techniques to take over for the spectacular climb of 60 stories above Chicago. Just days later, the twin 32-foot diameter cores begin rising from their pads, and workmen on a continuous 15-hour work cycle begin a carefully detailed hourly schedule. To begin, iron workers are on hand to assemble the Linden crane, which, throughout construction, will lift most of the building materials. 6 a.m. A carpenter crew begins stripping the circular form which will crawl up story by story on the very concrete it is forming. By 9 o'clock, the crane has been raised. Box outs for doors and utilities positioned, and iron workers are ready to install reinforcing steel. At noon, carpenters start to raise the form. 2:30 p.m. Just 9 hours from the beginning of the cycle, the giant circular form is ready for concrete. By evening, concreting is completed, and the cycle ready to begin again. Form and crane, pulling themselves up atop their own work, climb skyward with mathematical precision. At 588 feet, the first core is topped out. Now, work is extended to the remainder of the tower structure. Design calls for 14 floors of parking above the plaza level, all contained in one multi-story corkscrew ramp climbing around the central core. Again, the months spent in detailed planning result in a great saving of time and money. Lightweight fiberglass forms, although expensive, were so well constructed that they could be reused 67 times to shape ramps, columns, and floors. When stripped, they revealed concrete with a dense finish, sharp corners, and handsome detailed columns. By now, Marina City was becoming a Chicago landmark and attracting keen attention throughout the world. Trade and labor crews, trained as a perfect team, go on a 24-hour-a-day, carefully developed schedule to complete work on the remainder of the 40 floors of apartments. Working on both towers simultaneously made it possible to keep the same men on the same job, and easy for the construction supervisor to move crews from one tower to another.